Welcome to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, the show where you get the inside access to the best minds in the game. Each week, Chris has the privilege of chatting with top instructors, legendary players, course architects, and industry insiders. If you're looking to improve your game, gain a new perspective, or just hear some incredible golf stories, you are indeed in the right place.
You see, Chris, let me tell you something, I haven't spoken to a press man in my life that is knowledgeable, seriously, as you are. Never.
You do such a great job. It kind of makes me feel good all of a sudden.
You do so much for the game. You're so kind to all of us that are out there in the game. You know, we need more people like you in the game of golf.
Thank you for pressing play. Now, grab your clubs, step up to the tee, and let's get started. This is Next on the Tee.
Hi, folks, and welcome into today's edition of Next on the Tee, where golf legends live and your game gets better. I'm your host, Chris Mascaro. Thank you, as always, for pressing play and choosing to be a part of the show today. This episode is all about comfort. As the temperature starts to heat up, I wanted to bring a couple of guys who are founders and heads of their own companies and are solving some problems that we all have when we get out onto the golf course. Let's talk about what those problems are. First up is Teddy Lynn. Teddy, in his own words, which you'll hear shortly, wasn't the best student in college, but he managed to graduate with a political science degree from Stanford and an MBA from UCLA. Not bad. And anyone who doesn't, I don't care if your GPA was 2.0 or what, I say, good on you. He did several things after college, but most recently, through much trial and error, which you'll also hear about, he founded Heathlander, which is a wonderful golf shoe and apparel company. Go check them out online at heathlander.com. Teddy talks all about the trials and tribulations of trying to start a golf shoe and apparel business. He tells us about the many thousands of pairs of shoes that he and his partners had to buy back from customers until they got their shoes right. Eventually, they won Best New Product at the 2025 PGA Merchandise Show. You'll hear why. Plus, we talk about their apparel lines, what's coming up next for them, and anyone who can rise up, find and discover their passion after being, again, not such a hot student in college and put things together like Teddy did, is worthy of our ears. Plus, he's just so much fun. You're really going to enjoy him. I really enjoyed this conversation. It's just something. Teddy is just so engaging. You're really going to like the person. And then on top of that, you're going to fall in love with the products if you go out there and check them out online. Following Teddy, I am joined by Dave Williams. Dave is the co-founder and president of 2UNDR. You guys know what a great long-standing partner 2UNDR has been. It's been nearly a decade now. Shout out to our great friend Jack Curry over there. Jack's been on the show a few times, and it's so much fun seeing him every year down at the PGA Merchandise Show and checking out all their latest designs. I spent some time with Dave Williams and their other co-founder, Rickie Harris, this year. Look, what's the most annoying thing that happens out on the course? At least one of the top 5 most annoying things that happens out on the course. It's certainly tugging at your shorts to straighten everything out. I hate that, especially on the tee. With 2UNDR, never happens. In addition to talking about all their great new designs for 2026, you'll hear about how they were able to impress Rickie Fowler and got him to be their very first brand ambassador, plus the other guys that are wearing their stuff out on the PGA Tour and the Champions Tour. It's popular for a reason, folks. Go check them out online at 2UNDR.com, and you're going to see just why I love the brand and why, if you don't have any, you really should, and you'll be struck by, again, all the great designs that they have available for you. Dave will come along and join me about a half an hour from now. So, folks, I got a great show with 2 great guys coming your way. Thanks, as always, for pressing play and taking the journey with me. One last thing before we get started. If you would please do me a huge favor, wherever you happen to be listening to this show, if you would take just a couple of seconds and subscribe to it. It would go a long way towards getting Next on the Tee in front of more wonderful people and golf enthusiasts just like you. Okay, you know I like to get things started shouting out the wonderful people that help to sponsor this show, starting with my great friends over at The Trib. TribLive.com is the leading news website in Western Pennsylvania, With news around the clock, Pittsburgh pro sports coverage, a high school sports network, and a podcast network, which is where you can find Next on the Tee. Bookmark triblive.com or download the Trib Live app for free and stay up to date with the latest news from Western Pennsylvania and beyond. I also want to talk about our friends over at the Pittsburgh Brewing Company and Iron City Beer, a brand that I have loved my whole life and started drinking when I was 21 years old, of course. Whether you're a hacker or a scratcher, the secret to a successful day on the links is knowing when it's time to grab an iron, even if that means keeping it in the bag till the 19th hole. If it's been a while since you've reached for Pittsburgh staple beer, it's time to revisit Iron City. Thanks to their incredible new facility in Creighton, the best-tasting Iron City beer ever made is now available at a course near you. Iron City pairs well with any lie and sky and serves as a friendly reminder that there's always next round. And because it's never too early for chocolate, their double chocolate Bock is back for the season, and it's the perfect companion for a cozy winter evening. Check out all of their wonderful beers and their gift shop by going online to pittsburghbrewing.com. In golf, fast isn't a nice-to-have, fast is a necessity, and speed off the tee is where it all starts. That was precisely the thinking behind the all-new QI4D family of drivers from TaylorMade, our fastest, most fittable drivers. Built to meet the demands of the world's best players like Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Nelly Korda, and the rest of Team TaylorMade. The QI4D lineup was engineered to unlock the 4 dimensions of speed, starting with a multi-material driver head with enhanced aerodynamic shaping, combined with a faster face and our revolutionary React shaft system. The TaylorMade QI4D drivers are ready to extract every bit of speed from every golfer's unique swing profile. Our industry-leading adjustability and fitting unlocks it all. Watch the full story of QI4D, our quest to build the fastest, most fittable drivers, and unlock your newfound speed at TaylorMadeGolf.com/findingfast. Now making his next On the Tee debut with me is Teddy Lynn. You know, one of the things I love most about our game is that it's constantly evolving, not just in how we play it, but how we experience it and the gear we use and the style that we bring to the golf course. And the brands that are stepping up to challenge the norm and do things a little bit differently. And my next guest is doing exactly that. Teddy is the founder of Heathlander Golf Shoes and Apparel. We'll talk in depth about the brand in just a moment. But going back to Teddy's college days, he earned his bachelor's degree in political science at Stanford and his MBA at UCLA. Looking back about a decade ago, he was the co-chief creative officer at Ogilvy and Mather, followed by being the global chief creative officer at Bloomberg. Then he became the founding partner at Episode 4, which is a creative marketing and advertising firm. Then he co-founded RYA, which is an AI platform that Episode 4 is a services arm of. Simultaneously, he founded Heathlander. And what I love about Teddy's story is that this isn't just about creating another product. This is about building something with identity, with purpose, and with a point of view, because let's be honest here, folks. We've all had moments out on the golf course where by the 12th or 13th hole, our gear just isn't performing the way we need it to or we thought it would. And you start to think to yourself, there's got to be a better way. Well, you know what? Teddy didn't just think that. He went out and did something about it. The right gear can actually help you play more comfortably and also maybe just a little bit better as well. So whether you're someone who walks every round or you just want to look good and feel your best out on the golf course, particularly when you step onto the first tee, I think you're really going to enjoy this segment. Teddy, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me. Very nice of you.
Teddy, I want to start by understanding your background a little bit better. How did you go from being a political science major at Stanford, who should probably be running for Congress and a guy I wished could run for president, to then running an AI company and a golf apparel company simultaneously?
So we should clear up a few things first. I'm not American, so I can never be president, which is a bit of luck. And I was a rubbish student. I had no business really being at Stanford, which is a much better school than I was a student. I went there because I'd grown up in England and my parents were living in California and I wanted to go west. But I was already a golfer. I was a 5-year, in England, high school is 5 years. I played 5 years of high school golf, and then I walked onto the golf team in college, and was played briefly. Played for probably a little over half a year on one of the great golf teams ever assembled in college. I was cut, and quite rightly, and took a break. But ever since then, golf has been a big part of my life. I've stayed a competitive player, and I've always loved it. And so through these various jobs I've had along the way, golf has always been in the background, and actually often in the foreground. For the last decade, I've been making a film series for a brand about golf, because I love it, and they're a huge sponsor of golf, and it's sort of been, it's been a passion project. The brand is Charles Schwab, and the film series is called The Challengers. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but we make films about people doing interesting things in golf. So golf has always been in the background, but I've had to have real jobs, or at least I thought I had to have real jobs until now. When now I've managed to put golf at the sort of forefront of my career instead of have it as just an element.
So you mentioned some of the time that you were playing and growing up, and then obviously in college. But when did golf become a thing for you? Like, when did someone put a golf club in your hand and you thought, you know what, I kind of like this game?
I was about 8, probably. I was about 8 years old. About 8 years old, and I had a nanny who helped my parents out. They worked a lot, and I lived by a big park in London called Hampstead Heath, and we would walk the dog. And this nanny was a golfer, a really average golfer, but a golfer. And we would take a club out, like Hickory's bought at the local sort of junk store, and we'd hit shots from goalpost to goalpost on the soccer fields on Hampstead Heath. And I got hooked, as people do. And by the time I was 10 or 11, I was playing in every free moment I had. In high school, I played nonstop. I went to a very old English boarding school called Winchester College that had its own golf course, which was amazingly fortuitous, beautiful golf course. And I spent my summers in Los Angeles, which is where my parents were living. And I played. They would draw lots every evening to see who had to drive me to Rancho Park at 4:00 in the morning, so that I could play golf. Get in line as a single and play golf every single day in the summer at 4 a.m. at Rancho Park.
Wow, that had to be a heck of an experience. What was it like getting up that early, waiting to see where you were, and getting an opportunity to go out there again as a single? You must have met some tremendous people along the way.
I did. My parents joked that when they would pick me up at 11, they would be told off by very often people 20, 30, 40 years my senior for sending their hustler kid out on the golf course. But I met an amazing number of people, many of whom I'm still in touch with. I met doctors and record producers and artists and business people who were just out there playing, and I was the kid who was who was out there by myself, and it was a blast. This is not an uncommon story among golfers, but I was happy to be dropped off in the morning and picked up in the evening. And if it took a long time to get out on the course, I would just chip and putt again and chip and putt again. And I've never been a range lover, but I've always been a short game fanatic.
Good for you.
I don't like beating balls on the range, which is maybe just because I'm not a very good ball striker. But
when along the way, Teddy, did a thought process come to you that, you know what, golf shoes and apparel need to be better, and I'm the guy that can go make them better?
So, as I said, my business partner, I have a brilliant business partner in my ad agency and in Raya, a guy by the name of Mark Himmelsbach, and we've worked together a long time, and in many different things, and he's been very tolerant of my love of working in marketing and advertising that's close to the game of golf, and probably 2 or 3 years ago, we started to talk about how can we become our own client as well as be in the business of working for others. And we were doing a lot of work in golf at the time. We know a lot about the golf audience, we know a lot about golf media. And so we wanted to try and explore, was there a place in golf? I originally thought there was a gap in socks, because I'm obsessed with playing in merino wool socks. And at the time, there were very few people offering them. We gave up on that because it turns out socks are really difficult to make. And ironically, we're now making them. We're about to launch them. But socks are really difficult to make. And we didn't know who could design them for us. And while we were in this debate, a friend of mine said he'd been working on a golf shoe, but he was going to give up. He'd figured out how to make it comfortable, but the shoe wasn't really, he just wasn't for him. And so I said, can you show me what you've done? And he'd figured out the hard part. He'd figured out how to make the shoe comfortable. He knew enough about manufacturing, and he's in the garment manufacturing business himself. And he's still an advisor to our business and actually sort of brokers our manufacturing. But he sort of showed me what he had, and I said, can I redesign this? Can I try and design an outsole? Can I try and design an aesthetic? Can I try and design a different golf shoe? And he said, yeah, knock yourself out. There's nothing proprietary here. And so before designing, my partner Mark and I, because we're marketers, we did a bit of research. We did a bit of homework. Why do people choose the golf shoes they choose? Because my hypothesis was that, well, my feeling was there wasn't one I loved. I had a lot of shoes in my rack, but there wasn't a go-to one. There wasn't one that looked good, was really comfortable, really performed. There were plenty that were fine. As a kid, I'd loved FootJoy Classics. You probably remember FootJoy Classics. They were this very elegant dress shoes, sometimes with a little bit of color, but they were heavy. They were wooden heels and heavy leather soles, and on a wet morning, pretty tough. But I loved them. And that's what I wore, in high school and college. And so we started asking people why they buy golf shoes. And the crazy thing was that a huge majority buy them based on aesthetics.
Really?
It turns out the number one reason people buy golf shoes is based on how they look, which was surprising to us.
Yeah, disappointing.
Yeah. And then second is comfort. And only third is that sort of more abstract idea of performance. And so I thought, well, I'm pretty sure I can design a shoe that at least I think looks good. So that shouldn't be that hard. Comfort is something my friend had already sort of had underway. And so we started to explore performance. And back I went to do more research. And I figured, I'd seen advertising and I'd seen the big companies talking about, AI and technology. I figured there must be real science to the tread patterns, to the way pressure is distributed. But I couldn't find any. And so I thought, if I can't find any, it's either super secret or it's not there. And so we set out to do it the old-fashioned way. We designed a sole that we thought would work, and we tried playing in it. We have an investor in the company who's a great mid-amateur golfer, and we put shoes on his feet and said, "Go swing," and he came back with amazingly precise feedback about where in the swing he felt like there was a slip, or in what situation there was a slip. And we fiddled and we iterated. And this is not uncommon. I'm sure every founder you talk to says this. We tried a lot of stuff, and we finally got somewhere we liked. And our sole was different than what other people were doing. It was different in its construction. It was different in its look. And our aesthetic was sort of classic, but not, based on my sort of wanting to modernize the shoe that I'd grown up loving. And we used a mix of modern materials and old materials, and we just made a shoe. And then we had this terrifying day when I said to Mark, in order to make shoes, we have to buy a lot of them. No one's going to make us 50 shoes. And Mark, to his credit, said, let's do it. So we bought 1,000 pairs of shoes, and we put them out there. And I belong to a great old golf club, a discreet club with a great membership, and I have a big network of golfers. And they were all willing. They all bought shoes and tried them and gave us feedback. And the ones we refer to as Gen 1, which are long gone from circulation, were both great and terrible. They had They were comfortable and performed, but they sort of came apart. And so we went back to the drawing board. We did something every founder told us not to do, which is we replaced everybody's shoes who'd ever bought a pair.
Wow.
At no cost. And we had another crack. And we did a lot better, but we still had some shortcomings. So we did that again. We once again reached out to everyone who'd ever bought shoes and said, your shoes aren't right. We want to give you new ones. And so we did that, and we got to the third ones, and the third ones are good. And that's when we started letting people review them, and that's when we started talking about them, and people seem to really like them. And so here we are, sort of by accident and not.
So you ended up buying 3,000 pairs of shoes before you got it right? Is that right?
Not exactly. No, our factory was very. They worked with us. I mean, yes is the answer, but not all at the same price. Our factory worked with us because they felt they should have done better too. So, but yes, we're in pretty deep. We owned a lot of shoes, and somewhere are a lot of discontinued shoes that we don't want in the world, but we're not sure what to do with. And now, now we're 2 years in, and we have a great shoe, and we have it in lots more colors. And actually, we're developing a second shoe now. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Teddy, as a guy coming off of 3 right ankle surgeries, there's nothing more important to me in a golf shoe than comfort, support, and stability. And having a weaker right ankle, having a stability that I can count on, that, as you briefly mentioned a moment ago, something that would slip and whatnot. And I think your pattern that you have on the bottom of the shoe, plus obviously what you've baked into keeping it all together. Talk about how for those of us that are north of 50, maybe we have some aches and pains, but looking for a comfortable shoe that's going to provide the stability that we need in all kinds of weather, because you talk about that on your website, being something that we can use in the rain and maybe in some really not good conditions. Talk about what sets yours apart.
Yeah. So the first thing is the sole. Our outsole. A sole is basically in 3 parts. There is what's called the outsole. That's the part that is in contact with the ground. There is the midsole. That is the part that gives you both support, but also is the sort of squishy part that gives you comfort. And then there is the insole, which is the part you can reach in and is also soft and gives slightly different support. The outsole is what most people talk about. Ours is made of 9 millimeters of rubber, which is unusual. Most people use a harder synthetic product, and which they felt would be necessary for grip and sort of and because it would last longer. But it struck me that didn't really make sense, because running shoes have rubber outsoles and they last plenty long, and we walk on grass, not on a synthetic track, not on a road. So we went with rubber because it's softer underfoot, but it's also it's tacky on the ground. And the pattern is a mixture. It's actually part of the pattern is our logo. And the rest is essentially trial and error of of testing and swinging. So we found something that was both comfortable and gripped. The other part, though, of the shoe that we talk about with stability is that the sides of our shoe, of the upper, are pretty stiff. They're stiff enough that when you load, when you actually set into, if you're right-handed, when you lean into your right side, the backswing, you don't want your ankle to roll. You don't want your foot to roll. I have found when I've tried mesh shoes or the sort of sneaker type shoes, that I don't get that sort of wall to push off, and we often get the feedback from people that they like that stiffness in the side because they can load up and they can swing hard, or they can just feel confident that it won't give, it won't roll. One of our early testers is a brilliant professional golfer by the name of Mike Brown, an Englishman who has one leg. He's a wounded veteran. I met him through something called the Simpson Cup, which is this Ryder Cup for wounded veterans. And he plays in our shoes, and he has one leg that's real and a prosthetic leg. And he told us that he loves our shoes because more than anyone, he has to know that shoe's not going to give out because he has so much more challenged in how he has to balance swinging hard, and he plays as a professional. So we have built a really stable shoe. There is a little bit of science to it, but it's really just because it's built by golfers and tested by golfers. And so that we've tested into what feels comfortable and stable.
You mentioned your sense of style, and we all want to look good when we're out on the golf course as well. We want it to be functional, but we want to look good too. Talk about putting your own stamp and your own style into the shoe so that we can feel good about ourselves when we're out there wearing those shoes on the course.
Yeah, so this one is an ongoing debate in the company and in the socials. I like white golf shoes. I like a plain white golf shoe that has a sort of dress shoe look about it, but I wanted to have a bit of flair. And so our first shoe, which we call the Surrey, had a pink outsole facing the ground and then a pink welt. But it was essentially a white golf shoe. And I was told, I don't think a lot of men will buy that pink shoe. But for a long time, it was our best selling shoe, and it's still close to it. But the goal was to make a shoe that you could wear at any club, at the stuffiest club, but it would be visible enough that people would ask you about it. So you could just have a little bit of flair. And that does, in fact, seem to be what's happening. Fairly early on, we got asked to make a dark shoe. And I personally am allergic to black golf shoes, mostly because I think I wear a lot of shorts. And there's a huge debate that exists in Reddit and GolfWorks about black golf shoes and should you wear them at all? Should you wear them with shorts? And my feeling has always been no to black shoes, although we're now getting a lot of demand that we are experimenting with one. I'm going to see if we can make one that we like. But we made a navy shoe because we needed a dark shoe. And again, most people around me were like, navy? No one's going to wear a navy golf shoe. But we brought it to the PGA show in the beginning of 2025. And it was the thing everyone was asking us about. When's that coming out? When's that coming out? At the time, it wasn't. But we quickly put it in production. And so we started with a couple of dark shoes, mostly white shoes. And we're now, as I said, experimenting with a black shoe that my team thinks we should bring out for Black Friday. So we'll see.
And we'll be right back. You guys know what a fan I am of On Point Golf. Folks, get the #1 ball marker in the game of golf. On Point is the only 3-dimensional ball marker with alignment technology and a removable coin. It is approved for use according to the rules of golf as defined by the USGA and the R&A. As we all know, putting is all about line and pace. Mark your ball with On Point, engage with your 3-dimensional ball marker, and have more confidence in your line, execute the putt, and lower your scores. Folks, with the likes of Jim Furyk, PGA professionals and amateurs alike out there using them now, it's the #1 ball marker in golf that actually helps you lower your scores. Go online to onpointgolf.us, read about the science behind it, then put one in your bag and make more putts. I feel like it's the 15th club in my bag. It's helped my game. Why wouldn't you let On Point help yours as well? Again, onpointgolf.us. Check them out and get one in your bag today.
PGA Tour Superstore pros aren't born. They're made. Every January, hundreds of associates talk to the top manufacturers, learn about the latest clubs, test the newest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together hit over 100,000 balls, all so they can get you the perfect fit.
Now let's get back to the show. You mentioned the PGA show, and you guys got a lot of great publicity from the Golf Channel during the 2025 PGA Merchandise Show. Talk about that and the success that you guys saw there.
It was really amazing. We had no idea. We'd never even been to the PGA show. We'd never been, so we didn't know what to expect. We designed our own booth. We went early and built it ourselves. We manned it. And there's a section of the PGA show called the New Product Showcase, where I think for $1,000 you can have a 2-foot square, a 2-foot square section of a table where you can put your product, and people who don't, who are overwhelmed by the show get sort of filed through this New Product Showcase and they look at things. And we thought, well, since nobody knows who we are, maybe we should pay this $1,000, which was a fortune for us at the time, because then at least it's a second place in the show where people might, see us and then come over to our booth. And so we did. We put it there and we thought nothing of it. And then 2 days later, somebody showed up at the booth and with a trophy and said we'd won best new product at the show. We didn't know it was a competition. So we certainly hadn't entered a competition. But people, I guess, walking through the New Product Showcase get asked to vote. And a lot of people said, I like the look of those shoes. So we were voted by attendees best new product at the 2025 show. And that got picked up. That got picked up by a lot of people. And we obviously mention it, in ads and on our site because we're proud of it. But it was mostly amusing to us because probably we'd have done it differently. It was a competition and probably we wouldn't have won. So
that's great. So now I got to switch gears a little bit to the apparel side of the business because your hoodies and sweaters look absolutely outstanding. I've got my eye on a couple of them when I was perusing through the website. Talk about how you went from making these wonderful golf shoes to then starting to add different apparel items.
So we did that because, again, a little bit out of ignorance. We assumed that because half the United States can only play golf half the year, our sales would drop off enormously in the winter, and we would need something to sell then. It turns out that's not the case at all. People buy golf shoes year round. In fact, November and December were our biggest months last year. So we were completely wrong about that. But that was the inspiration for getting into something that would be, that we could sell at a different time of year. Our first sweater was, again, from my own experience. If you grew up playing golf in England or Scotland or anywhere in Northern Europe, you grew up playing in what's called a wind sweater, a fully lined, sweater that is sort of almost like a jacket, but isn't. They're still commonplace there, but they've never really taken off here, and I've never understood why. I think Sunderland made one in the 80s, and a couple of people have dabbled, but there was a gap, and I thought, well, maybe we can bring back the wind sweater. So it turns out they're really hard to make. It took us more than 50 attempts to get one that worked. But we did, and we brought it out. And for people that are wearing it, they love it. And it's that sort of perfect shoulder season. It's not a jacket, it's not a sweater, but it just keeps the wind off. It's become a crossover item too. We find that our wind sweater wearers wear it as much to walk the dog or for après ski or boating as they do playing golf. But it's a cool item, but it's very narrow. So we were worried. Again, lots of this comes from worries. What's going to happen? And I found aesthetically and personally that the world maybe had enough quarter zips. And I found I was always looking for just a good sweater to wear, a crew neck or V-neck sweater that had a good enough fit. You could play golf, but you could just walk right off the course and into the bar. And so we went and found a maker in Italy. And we started making some crew necks and V-necks. And they're very popular. We get very much less uptake with our apparel than our shoes. Our shoes by far dominate our sales. But those that have them seem to keep coming back to buy our sweaters. We're very good value relative to the golf companies that are making 100% cashmere sweaters. I know they're all expensive, but ours are about half of what some of the big golf companies charge.
And God bless you.
Sorry?
I said, so God bless you for coming out with a sweater that we do have enough quarter zips, I promise you. So yeah, good on you for coming out with a regular sweater.
So that's what we did. And we're leaning more as we go forward. People like our footwear, I think, it's not that they don't like our apparel, but they look at us for footwear. So we're going to expand our footwear, socks, and another shoe. And I think be selective and do apparel, but do it on occasion, rather than try and go up against. There's so many companies I admire who are doing apparel brilliantly, whether it's Holderness and Bourne or Grayson or, I mean, whoever, or, you know, Draddy and the folks at Summit. It's like, it's crowded. And funnily enough, people are cautious to do shoes because they're famously difficult. So I think we're going to stay closer to shoes and just dabble in apparel.
So, Teddy, what's next? You mentioned socks.
Yeah.
So what can we look forward to from Heathlander as we look out to the rest of 26 and the early parts of 27?
So we're not going to reinvent our shoe all the time. We feel we've made a great performance golf shoe. We're going to stick to it. We will trade colors in and out, but that shoe is still going to be our staple. Every guy we speak to says the thing they hate most is when they like something and people discontinue it. So we're not going to do that. We're going to keep making that shoe. We are adding what we're calling a golf-ready sneaker. It's really a sneaker, but you could play golf with it if the weather's perfect and the ground is firm and it's not too wet. So it's more for playing that 6-hole loop with your kid, or you know, that the perfect day when you're, you know, when, as I said, when it's hot and the ground is firm, or for the person who, you know, rides in a cart and just wants a comfortable shoe. We've met a few pros who want to teach in it, but it's basically it's a great sneaker that you could play golf in, not a golf shoe. So that's coming. That's about 2 or 3 months out, in the middle of summer. We're bringing out merino socks. It's one of the great secrets. I don't know why it's a secret, but merino wool is the best thing you could possibly put on your feet, play golf. And yet almost everybody is wearing cotton or synthetic fibers that make your feet hot, that don't wick, smell. Merino does none of that. So we're making amazing Austrian merino wool socks, both crew socks and ankle socks. And those are coming again this summer. And a little further out, we're thinking about making a really old-fashioned, really luxurious shoe, really inspired by the ones that I wore as a kid. A leather-soled, leather dress shoe that you'd wear for special occasions. You know, that day when you get to go play Pine Valley or Oakmont, or one of the, you know, when you get a bucket list outing and you just want to wear something special. So we're looking at that. But that's a long way off.
Teddy, just a couple more before I let you go, but is there anything else that you would want our listeners to know? Anything else that we haven't talked about already that you would want them to take away from our conversation?
I think we have this ethos at the company. We have this phrase we use a lot, which is that proper golfers walk. And there are two parts to that. One is we love the proper golfer, and we don't mean to be a proper golfer. You don't have to be a low handicap. You don't have to be a single digit. You just have to be someone who loves the game and cares for the game in its sort of purest form, cares about the history, cares about where you're playing, cares about who you're playing with, cares about the rules, cares about the etiquette. And we very much want to build a community of those golfers. Now, we happen to think, and it's not everyone can do it. So obviously, if you can't do it, it's not the same. But we think the best form of the game is on foot. And it's better for the course, it's better for the rhythm, it's better for the timing, it's better for the conversation. We think golf should be a walking game. There was an amazing thing that happened to golf during COVID, right? When suddenly it was the place, the golf course was the place where you could be outside and you could be slightly distant and yet still together and talking. And it revived a game that I think was struggling a bit. And I think a lot of that is due to the fact that it was walking. So we really believe in it, in pushing the walking game. And that's really why we care about making a shoe that's really comfortable, is that we think, golf is not a good walk spoiled. Golf is a good walk made.
So, Teddy, for people like me who, after hearing you and all of the things that you are about and the company's about, want to rush out right now and get a pair of shoes or something wonderful that looks great from the apparel side of the business, talk about how we can go out there online and get ourselves a pair of these wonderful shoes or one of your sweaters.
It's very simple. Heathlander.com. We have been terribly back ordered, but we're only a few days away from that being resolved. But many more people wanted our shoes than we imagined, so we've been scrambling to make more.
It's good to be in demand. It's great to be in demand.
It is great to be in demand. We feel very lucky.
Teddy, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and be a part of the show. How can we also stay up to date with you guys out on social media as well?
Instagram is probably the best spot. We are Heathlander at Heathlander Golf at Instagram. I think if you're a golf fan, we find you in the socials. So hopefully we're not too irritating and your listeners aren't already tired of me talking about proper golfers.
I'm sure they are not. Teddy, you're fantastic, my friend. I hope this is the first of many times that you'll come back and be a part of the show. Keep us updated on the great things that you're out there creating and the wonderful feedback you're getting. I'm very excited about the brand. I hope, like I say, we get this opportunity and privilege to spend time with you again very soon.
Likewise. I hope we can find you some shoes that alleviate your ankle pain and give you the stability you need.
I'm very much looking forward to that. I promise you.
Great.
Teddy, take care, my friend. All the best to you and your family. We'll catch up again soon.
Thank you for having me.
See you, Teddy. Folks, that is the great Teddy Lynn. Talk about a great story of bringing a brand into existence, and just a guy who is very smart and very passionate about what he does, an amazing mind and great eye for brand marketing and doing things differently and doing those different things with style. Look, it just doesn't get any better than what you just heard. I want to also give a shout out to Sydney Kuhn from Ragdoll PR for reaching out and suggesting Teddy as a guest. She was spot on. How great and fantastic that he would be as a guest. And look, when you go out there online, again, Heathlander.com, go check it out, right? Go follow them as well on Instagram. But I think what you're going to be struck by is what the golf shoes look like, the style with which that they are, and the pattern on the bottom of the shoe. That's one of the things that stuck out to me. I mean, Teddy talked about how he loves a white golf shoe, and the shoes are mostly white, but they've got some style to them around the sole and that sort of area. But when you look at the pattern on the bottom, I think that's what's really going to strike you as well, because you can just see in how they've put that sole together how it's going to be more stable than a lot of the golf shoes out on the market. And again, there's a reason why they won Best New Product at the 2025 PGA Merchandise Show, right? You don't just do that, right? It's not just a popularity contest. You don't try to win votes by handing out shoes to everybody, so therefore you win. It happens for a reason. So the idea that they are more supportive is what you're going to see on the sole of those shoes. So that's what stuck with me. I can't be more impressed by what I saw. And then, again, a bit of style for the sweaters and the hoodies that they have. I told you, like I said, I got my eye on a couple of those as well. So you're going to be struck by all of those things. And then when you look at what else that they want to do, socks. How many times have we played a game of golf where afterwards, maybe it was first thing in the morning and we're a dew sweeper, and now our shoes are wet and our socks are soaked, and by the fifth or sixth hole, you wish you had something you could change into. Well, this is going to be different, right? And then on top of that, think about a special shoe, right? As I talk about with my friends and folks that we get to play out on, maybe we get a special invite back home to play at Oakmont, or you get an opportunity to play maybe at Pebble Beach, and you just don't want to wear your regular golf shoes. You want it to be different or special. Well, sounds like they're coming out with a shoe that you can do that in. And then from there, as we have an opportunity late in the afternoon, maybe you get to play with your son or your daughter, or maybe you're going to play a short course where you just want to have something comfortable that you can go out and play in. And then from there, you're going to go have dinner. And then you've got a shoe that you can do both of those things in. They got a solution for you there as well. So all of that stuff wrapped up together, to me, is what impresses me, not just about Teddy, about the brand as well. So hopefully we get the privilege of getting Teddy back on the show. We'll hear about some of the special shoes. We'll get an update on the merino wool socks on top of that. So it's just a complete package for you, and I look forward to having Teddy back as part of the show. Hopefully, again, maybe a little bit later on this summer. Coming up next is a wonderful friend of the show, and that is Dave Williams. Dave is the co-founder and president of 2UNDR. Before he joins me, let's talk about 2UNDR. If you haven't tried them yet, you really should. Why? Well, from the first tee to the clubhouse, 2UNDR's Joey Pouch is going to keep you comfortable and locked in all round or all day. Build your own bundle by going online to 2UNDR, that's the number 2, UNDR.com, and save up to 20%. Okay, now making his next On the Tee debut with me is Dave Williams. Dave is the co-founder and president of 2UNDR, and you guys know what great partners 2UNDR has been with the show over the years. We've been partners for about a decade now. Our great friend Jack Curry has joined the show several times over the years, and Dave is someone who saw a gap in the market, and instead of just talking about it, he went out and built something better. 2UNDR has completely changed the game when it comes to comfort, performance, and confidence, in my opinion, because, let's be honest, once you try it, there's no going back. Under Dave's leadership, 2UNDR has grown from a great idea into a global brand, which is worn by tour players, elite athletes, guys like us who just want to feel comfortable as well, whether we're out on the course, right, or in the office, or anywhere in between for that matter. So whether you've already got a drawer full of them or you want to learn about why you should, I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation, just like I did when I had an opportunity to speak to Dave back at the PGA Merchandise Show. He's fantastic, and I couldn't be more honored he's with me today here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Dave, thanks for coming on the show.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's not very often I get a chance to reflect on things a little bit, so I'm looking forward to it.
So, Dave, for our audience, right, I want to start by going back to the beginning. I got to ask you, at some point in time, something occurred to you that said, you know what, I got to create something that's different or better. When did that moment happen for you?
Well, what really kind of hatched, I guess, the beginnings of all this was just my career as a distributor, developing primarily American brands for the Canadian market. And I had a successful career, but it usually ended when the brand I was developing for Canada was bought out. Some of these brands were very big brands in the U.S. and became purchased by even bigger companies, and that usually took me out of my distributor position in Canada. So there were some ups and downs in how all that worked out for my business and also my staff. So the last time it happened, I decided that I should probably be looking for a brand whose destiny I could really control. So that hatched around 2010. And we knew some of the players in the underwear space in other industries other than the golf industry, and saw the success that they were having. So we thought that the golf industry would be particularly well suited to it, given how much time people spend out there in the elements playing the game of golf. And we looked at the demands that the sport really would, put on people's comfort. On men's comfort more than anything, obviously. So we looked at what some of the competition was doing and decided we could probably come up with something even better if we put our minds to it. So that's really what happened. And then when we finally got it all sorted out and our patents in place and everything, we introduced it to the Canadian market, had some pretty good success there. And based on our success in bringing other brands to the Canadian market, it wasn't that big a deal. Now, going into the U.S. market was quite a bit different story because I was pretty much, other than on the supply side, an unknown to the golf industry in the U.S. So we were just kind of a new startup people and went to our first PGA show and probably got more interest from the media than the golf pros, but the media was so taken with our product, they started to write about it, and that created kind of just that leeway that we needed to get people to try the product, because that's really what it took, is just getting someone to wear something new in underwear to realize that, that it was a product that would be worth having personally. And, in the golf industry, for the most part, has been a pretty conservative industry. And a lot of pros didn't feel that they could sell men's underwear in the pro shop because, the women shared the same pro shop. But as I learned pretty quickly, women were the biggest buyers of men's underwear. So they, we were able to overcome that obstacle, which really was the only obstacle we had.
So along those same lines, Dave, getting a new product line launched is never an easy thing. Were there barriers along the way that you came across that you had to overcome in order to get this thing launched?
I would say no real barriers, just the challenges of moving into a bigger marketplace where you had to really step up compared to a market a tenth the size of it in Canada, which was my home market. So I got to attend some seminars from American companies because we're from Vancouver, close to the border. They were looking to find Canadian products that might be sold in the U.S., but you had to learn just how big a financial commitment it was to undertake that. So that was a big challenge for me. And I had my own warehouse in Canada at the time. I built it, and I really had to sell that asset to have the money to invest in launching this brand and having the finances to grow it without taking on additional partners.
So for our listeners who are wondering, Dave, tell them what sets your brand apart from everybody else.
Well, I think our Joey pouch is the factor that really gives the male support that underlies the comfort of the underwear. That, and we use a very luxurious fabric that is lightweight, stretchy, and very soft. So the overall comfort of that, and we have a moisture-wicking liner in that Joey pouch. So it's the Joey pouch that really, I think, sells people 2UNDR over maybe something that's a little bit similar to us, but not quite the same.
Another thing in my mind, Dave, that sets your brand apart, and for many golfers like me that we appreciate, is the brand doesn't ride up. There's nothing worse on the golf course or anywhere for that matter than having to adjust your underwear as you walk, as you try to play, that sort of thing. Talk about how you guys fixed that issue.
Well, I mean, we took a little time in getting that fit right because the fit for us was more about whether the underwear stayed in, around the waist in the proper way, that, when through activity, you weren't sort of pulling the back part of it down. And so the fit of it took a lot of time to, trial and error to get right. And once we got that right, we knew the Joey pouch with a good fitting pair of underwear that had stretchability and washability and sustainability, then we had a solid product.
You've got several styles. Talk about the differences between swing shift, day shift, low shift, and sport shift.
All right. Well, 80% of our business is actually done in the swing shift. And that's to some degree a reflection of the market that we really try to capture, which isn't necessarily a young athletic market. It really is something that is very good for everyday use and athletic use. Now, for the team and institutional side of things, where players and coaches are putting themselves and their underwear through extreme exercise, we developed the sport shift model, but that's a smaller part of our market. And the flow shift was done primarily for the southern states that get so humid. So it has a little more ventilation than the swing shift. But otherwise, they all feature the Joey pouch. They all feature very comfortable fabrics, and the fit has been worked on to make sure that that's as good as we can do.
So yeah, I want to take that a step further, Dave, because we have a lot of listeners in the southern part of the country. Florida's starting to heat up. Georgia's going to heat up here really soon. We got some great weather for those that are watching the Masters right now. A lot of great weather in Georgia.
Well, I've been watching it too. This is really quite a spectacle this year.
Indeed. We've also, folks in Louisiana, Texas, you talk about, the moisture wicking part of what you have and what's available in all of the different styles, the swing shift and the flow shift that you just mentioned a moment ago. But for our listeners that are about to feel the hot and humid heat of the summer, and they're going to be spending a lot of time out on the golf course between now and fall, talk about the moisture wicking piece and how it's going to help them stay dry and cool throughout the hot summers.
Yeah, well, I mean, the swing shift is good for most climates, but as I said, the flow shift has a little more ventilation, slightly different fabric blend, really ideal for the humid conditions, I think, of the South and even the Midwest. And but I must say, because the swing shift has been worn for many years, most people find it to be quite satisfactory as far as that goes. I think once people try or got used to wearing the swing shift, they're a little unlikely to change or experiment on it, because if they like what they have, then they want to stick with it. But it's just another option for those that want to maybe try to get something that's going to keep them a little cooler for those really humid conditions.
You guys started the brand around the same time this show started, going back to 2013. When you look back over the last dozen years, Dave, how has the brand changed and evolved?
Well, I think, initially we had 3 colorways, only sold an individual box. And from there, we started having a lot of fun with our prints. We did that as much for ourselves as for our customer base, but it soon became a big thing in golf that people were looking for the new prints that we did. Some were golf oriented, some were just plain fun, but it was fun for us to do these prints. And then we started doing some of the prints in socks. So we were kind of expanding a little bit on what our print designs were offering us in the way of an opportunity. And then I think beyond that, we were a base layer product, and for I think the next 4 or 5 years didn't venture too far from that, except in t-shirts. We found a really beautiful fabric that was quite expensive, but lent itself to just a pretty unique feeling and performing t-shirt, both it started out as just crew and V-neck tees, and then we started doing some kind of base layer hoodies in this fabric, very lightweight and held color very nicely. So we started to experiment a little bit with that. But we've never really wanted to go too far from our base layer roots. We've done some polos and hats, and we're working a little bit with a new quarter zip and long sleeve crew neck and also hoodie, and as something beyond a base layer, because we found a fabric that was just sort of as wonderful to wear as our underwear. Obviously a more heavy gauge, but it was more trying to stick to our roots is something that felt better than anything else they'd ever worn.
And we'll be right back. Golf season is back, and Sunday Swagger just made sure you're going to be ready. Their new spring collection just dropped. They've got 60 bold, performance-driven styles for men, women, and youth. And if all that isn't enough, well, they just linked up with Pennzoil and Team Penske for a race-inspired collection that brings serious trackside energy to the fairways. With styles for men, women, and youth, you're guaranteed to turn heads and spark conversation when you wear Sunday Swagger. Visit sundayswagger.com, join the Sunday Club for exclusive drops and member benefits, and folks, Sunday Swagger is going to give you what? Polos with personality. Again, check them out online, sundayswagger.com. And folks, Squares Golf, best golf shoes on the planet by far. It's not a gimmick, it's not marketing, it's science. Don't take my word for it. Let's hear from six-time major champion Sir Nick Faldo.
So Nick here. What if there was a golf shoe embraced by hundreds of thousands of golfers, celebrated for its stability, comfort, and distance? What if this shoe earned the title of most technologically advanced golf shoe by Sports Illustrated? And what if the company behind that shoe spent the last year perfecting a brand new category of golf footwear? Well, the what if is here. Introducing the all-new Pro S2 LT by Squares, a new class all of its own, the perfect blend of lightweight comfort and stable performance. You'll notice the difference. Change your shoes, change your game. Squares.
Now back to the show. As I said to you and your other co-founder, Rocky Harris, earlier this year at the PGA Merchandise Show, you mentioned the designs a moment ago. They just keep getting better and better and more innovative every year. How do you guys go about coming up with what the new designs are going to be?
Well, I stopped drinking about 5 years ago. We used to sit around and thinking that a bottle of wine might make us more creative. But anyway, it's really my son Joey who heads up the day-to-day operations of our business. Rocky, who's been our designer from day one, and I having time together to just sort of spitball things and then have Rocky translate it into designs. And quite often, because I winter in California, I make 2 road trips a year coming down here from Vancouver and going back, but I always turn that into about a 3-week experience of going to different parts of primarily the United States, from the Midwest out to the far West. I went to the Ryder Cup. We were the official underwear of the Ryder Cup when it was held in Wisconsin. And so I had my first trip down through the Midwest and the cornfields and the farming and whatnot. And I would just get inspired from certain things I saw. So we tried to translate that a little bit into prints that might pay tribute to some of the things that the male audience might be interested in. I did the same. I saw a lot of great cars, like U.S. model cars, and we did a series on muscle cars, and that went very well. And it is, actually for this spring, we're featuring a print of farming equipment based on how impressed I was with how important farming is. And when you look at these farms around the country and see what they do and how much work goes into it and how important they are to the country, that this is kind of to pay tribute to them, just those types of things. And then other things are, much more fanciful than that. We've always played around with food and things like that, things that guys might relate to. We've had cart girls and all sorts of male sort of related images that are really about golf and things like that. But golf still is our biggest market out there. So we're a little bit golf-centric in producing some of these prints for sure.
Rickie Fowler signed on as a brand ambassador just prior to the 2019 PGA Merchandise Show. I was curious, Dave, how you guys were able to go about impressing Rickie and getting him to sign on.
Yeah, that took it took, I think, almost 3 years to get Rickie on board. It started with me going down to Torrey Pines to give some of the players some underwear. And I met him on the practice tee the day before. It was kind of a foggy day. And because of the fog, the guys weren't able to see how far their balls were really going on the range. So they're having fun, and Rickie was kind of showing off a bit and just seemed very loose. And I gave him a pair, and he said, yeah, I'll try these. And Butch Harmon got a pair, and he sent me personally an email back about 2 or 3 weeks later, said, hey, thanks for the underwear. I really like these. I'd like to get involved in your company. And I was kind of shocked by that, but that led to us meeting with his agents. And the challenge with Rickie, which we would probably have with any golfer, but he was a Puma sponsored athlete who, didn't want to share clothing with any other brand. So it was a non-starter until Rickie kind of convinced them that he would wear 2UNDR as underwear, but it would never be shown in public, in conjunction with the Puma brand. And the Puma guys ended up, I think, getting underwear, some of their senior management, and they liked the product too. So they worked something out where Rickie could do that. But it's one of the reasons that we don't have 2UNDR on his golf bag or his hat or any part of his body, is that would be a conflict with a much bigger contract for him.
And you've got other tour players too, right?
Well, yeah, I think, I don't want to mention any, but I would say probably most of them. I mean,
is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we see them, either them or their wives, ordering product all the time from us, and so we kind of we feel very satisfied that we're taking care of these guys out there, and because we've been involved in the Ryder Cup and we've been to a number of venues to market 2UNDR on the PGA Tour, that we've got a pretty good following amongst the tour players. But I must give a plug to Rickie. I mean, I know he hasn't been as he hasn't lived up to probably his own expectations on the tour the last couple of years. But he's gone through a lot in his life as a family man, and he still plays pretty good golf. But he is such a good person that I don't think it really matters to us that he's not winning all the time. The fact that he embodies all the, I think, human characteristics that we think our brand should be associated with. It's just that simple.
Have the players, whether it's Rickie or some of the folks that you don't want to actually name, have they given you feedback about how well it performs for them, that it's making a difference? I mean, I'm not expecting that guys are saying, hey, I'm playing so much better now that I'm wearing these underwear, but from a comfort perspective, have they given you any feedback about how much they enjoy the brand?
Well, we occasionally get that when we would meet them somewhere. We're not really out on the tour personally, but at the PGA show, if any of the tour players are around, they usually come by, and these are quite often older players. I think the tour guys on the PGA Tour now, you don't see that many of them at the PGA show. They're out, in January, starting to, get things going. But yeah, I mean, we've had, I would say half a dozen guys reach out to us in a nice way. The others, they just quietly order from us, and we aren't looking for anyone else to while Rickie's interested in still, being our brand ambassador, because he is our global brand ambassador, we're not really looking to sign anyone.
Dave, along those same lines, are you getting feedback from average golfers like me about how much they enjoy wearing the brand and just how much more comfortable it allows them to be out on the golf course? So like we said at the top, in the office or everywhere in between.
I would say every day they just sort of appreciate the comfort of it. And what is kind of odd though is how many people like to tell us that they are wearing 2UNDR. I know they're being nice to us, but it's I guess it's something, when you look at where underwear has come in the last 20 years, men are quite willing to talk about something that's kind of changed their life in that regard.
One of the things you touched on a little while ago, I was curious, when you stay ahead of so many things that are out there in the apparel industry, you're innovative, your designs are innovative, but you're also not getting too far away from your core identity. Talk about maintaining, sort of keeping the brand fresh, but also not getting too far away with what got you here.
Yeah, I think it's, we've sort of learned that our core competency, is the underwear. And that's why people come to us. It's primarily for that. And I guess to a lesser degree for the base layer tees and whatnot that are, again, super comfortable. And it's, the golf market, the leisure apparel market, it's very, very competitive out there. And I think for us, we don't want to get lost in trying to be something where we don't offer something very special. And I think for us, keeping the eye on just how well our product is performing year after year is just a really good strategy. We're not out there to we're growing the business organically. It continues to grow internationally, and for I guess a family business, and particularly one from Canada that is not used to a market the size of the U.S. or appealing to an international market for a consumer product. We're a little bit modest maybe in terms of what our overall objectives are. I'm very happy that my business that started 50 years ago this year, which was the first PGA show I went to, first PGA merchandise show, that we're still around after 50 years, and now there is a new generation very keen on doing the same, because the golf industry, and I mean this very sincerely, it's a really, really good industry to be in.
Dave, I want to switch gears for a minute. I want to talk about you. Do you have a special memory, a course that you love, something in and around the game of golf that is very special to you?
Yeah, there's, I've been to some really great places around the world to golf. When I first started going to the Far East to source product in the 80s, I played some of the early golf courses in Korea, Taiwan, and then China and Thailand. I think international golf, it's kind of different, with the caddies and everything. It's very, very relaxed. And also sort of demanding because of the heat and the humidity for someone who's not used to that. But they're all beautiful places. I've had very memorable trips to Ireland and Scotland to play golf. I remember I played 36 holes at Ballybunion, and
wow,
this really, really stiff wind. We were actually wearing all our rain gear on a beautiful sunny day, because it was a spring day, but it was just so cold from the wind. And I played the new course, and the first hole's a par 5. Well, I parred that with the wind behind me, and I never got even a bogey for the rest of the 35 holes I was out there.
Wow.
Well, that was my longest day of golf. And I think that as I look forward to, opportunities to continue golfing, I sort of set my sights on what's closer to home. I winter in the Palm Springs area. I'm in La Quinta, and there's lots of great golf courses here, and the weather conditions are great. So it's when you get on a golf course on a really nice day, it's just it's a dream come true.
Are there any bucket list courses you still have left that you want to get to?
I haven't thought of that so much. I'd actually like to play golf in France for some crazy reason. I don't know why. Because I speak a little French, because we had to take French in high school and when I was younger. So I thought it might be kind of different to go to a country that's not really known for it. But they now have some pretty nice golf courses there, and I think that would be kind of a cool place to go. I was the Sun Mountain distributor back in the
is that right?
80s. Yeah, 80s and 90s is one of the brands I developed for Canada. And they took me and a couple of other people from the U.S. to Iceland because they sponsored the Icelandic Open golf tournament on June 21st, the longest day of the year, and we teed off at midnight and played through the night there. That was such a unique experience that I will never forget and be eternally thankful to them. They were a very good company to, and probably still are, a great company to be involved with. So that was a very unique experience.
Before I let you go, let our listeners know what's coming up with the brand. Any new innovations, new product lines, anything along those lines that you want to make sure that we get out there to get people excited about what's coming next with 2UNDR?
Well, we are experimenting with a couple of new fabrics. I don't know that we'll introduce those over this year, but you'll probably see us do some more work on that. Just trying to offer things. We've increased the weight of our fabric a little bit in the last year. We didn't announce that too much, but just kind of made it a little bit, in our minds, a little stronger and a little better able to retain its strength through the printing process, which is a bit of a challenge. So I think the more refinements of fit, we have no. I think our packaging is still exactly what we want. It's unique, and I think people like it. I don't think we'll try to be too much different in that regard. I think we'll continue to try to stay as focused as we can on men's base layer products. We are asked all the time, are we considering underwear for women? And I don't think it'll happen while I'm alive.
Is that right?
Yes. Too hard to please for me. I think the women actually wear our base layer t-shirts as pajamas and stuff like that. I'm happy for that, but I'm not trying to. I'd have to do way too much field work, and I don't think I'm in the right age to go out there and do that.
How can our listeners also stay up to date with the great things you guys are doing, whether it's on your website or it's on social media as well?
Well, obviously the 2UNDR website, they can follow us pretty closely. I definitely want to put a plug in for all the pro shops that, stock our product and use them as tee gifts and things to help our business. So we've got a very good presence out there in golf, and we're just looking to remain very golf-centric, I think, in our aspirations for the future.
Well, Dave, it has been great having you and the brand as partners, like I say, for about a decade now, and certainly wonderful to get to spend some more time with you. Got to spend some at the PGA Merchandise Show, but great to get to spend some time with you this afternoon. I hope you'll come back, keep us updated on all the great things that you guys are out there doing. I can't tell you how much I've appreciated you, the brand, and your time today.
Well, Chris, I thank you very much, and thank your listeners for tuning in and keeping their interest alive in what's happening in the golf industry. And I'll look forward to seeing you in Orlando in another 9 months.
Indeed.
Okay,
Dave,
Chris.
Take care, Dave. All the best to you and your family. We'll catch up soon.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
See you, Dave. That is Dave Williams, folks, the co-founder of 2UNDR. You can find them online. The number 2UNDR.com is the website. At 2UNDR's where you're going to find them on social media as well. I'm being perfectly honest here. When I started partnering with these guys, like I say, a little over a decade ago, I had the great fortune of meeting Jack Curry and trying the product out. And once I tried it, again, we've been partners for 10 years since. And the idea that I would ever put anything else on is non-existent because 2UNDR is the most comfortable underwear I have ever worn. And the T-shirts, Dave talked about those during the course of the conversation. Those are fantastic as well. And the thing that I appreciate most about the brand, or things I should say, is they are breathable. They are moisture wicking, just like he talked about. And the fact that you don't have to adjust yourself when you're playing. There's nothing worse to me than when you're walking along a golf course or anywhere just in life, but particularly when you're out there on the course, having to adjust yourself before you take a shot, before you take your stance, as you're walking along. No one wants to do that. You don't want to do it on the golf course. You don't want to do it in life. Well, you don't have to do it with 2UNDR. Those are just the best underwear that you're going to find anywhere. And the testament to that is, first of all, Rickie wanted to come on board once he tried it. And as Dave said, most of the tour players are wearing it. How much better of an endorsement do you need? There's a reason why Rickie switched. There's a reason why the guys are wearing it out there on tour, and it's making a difference. Again, when you're out there, you just want to focus on playing and having a good time. You want to enjoy your playing partners. You want to enjoy the golf course. You want to enjoy being out in nature and that sort of thing. You don't have to think about little things. Every little distraction. You know how much we talk about the mental part of the game on this show. Well, you can scratch those things off your list of things you're going to have to think about because you're going to be that comfortable out there. And then as all the other things that Dave talked about that they've gotten into over the years, even beyond the T-shirts, I mean, their hoodies, their lightweight hoodies, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. You see guys wearing it out on tour nowadays, and there's a reason why these hoodies are as good as they are, because they're lightweight, they're very comfortable, and the materials, just like they have in the underwear, fantastic. You're going to love them. Go out there and give them a try. Again, go out there to 2UNDR.com. Check them out. Let me know what you think. Respond to something. You'll see this will be out there online soon. So give me a comment on the segment itself. But you can reach out to me in the meantime, whether it's on my website at nextonthet.net or out there on Instagram at CTMascaro. Let me know what you think. I'm really interested in your thoughts. My thanks to Dave, and we'll get him back on the show again before too long. All right, my friends, it is time for me to put a bow on this episode of Next on the Tee. I want to send out my sincere thanks once again to Teddy Lynn and Dave Williams for joining me on this episode. Scheduled to join me next time are a wonderful longtime friend of the show, Peter Gray, will join me to talk about his great new book that is out. It is called The Golf Courses of Long Island. If you're from that area, you've played the courses, or you just want to learn about some of the great places to go play, some of the historic courses, so many of them. It's unbelievable how many of them are out there along Long Island. So very excited to have Peter back as part of the show. And then we'll get our regular monthly visit from the Confidence Doctor, Dr. Bob Winters. You know how great Dr. Bob is all the time, helping us be more confident, play our best golf out there. Looking forward to hearing all the great things and insights that he has to share with us to kick off the month of May. I want to thank our friends again over at Trib Live for being such wonderful partners and for hosting this show on their site. For the latest news from Western Pennsylvania and beyond, including your favorite sports, go to triblive.com. You can find this show by then clicking on the sports section tab, and the most recent episode right there front and center for you on the homepage of the sports section. Or you can type in podcast.triblive.com, click on Next on the Tee. Many of the most recent episodes from this season are waiting there for you as well. But as you guys know, you can find this show pretty much anywhere you get your podcast content. We're out there on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Good Pods, and golfnewsnet.com as well. But as always, the biggest thanks go out to each and every one of you for being the greatest supporters in the history of podcasts, barring none. I am so grateful for each and every one of you. Until next time, hit 'em straight, my friends.
Thanks for joining Chris again this week on Next on the Tee. We hope you enjoyed the conversations as much as we did. Please share the show with your golf buddies and be sure to follow it on Trib Live or your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Thanks for pressing play and being part of the journey. We'll see you next week, right here, where the best minds in golf share their stories.